You just passed your 89th birthday.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to do a little story on your life here.
Oh,
First out, will you give me your full name?
Mildred Violet Baker Hampton.
Okay. Would you tell me where you were born, Ma?
1915, February 27th.
And where was that at?
Porters La Prairie, Canada.
Okay. Were you born at home or in the hospital?
I don't know, but I imagine I was born at home.
Yeah, I think Chester was the first one.
Most of the people did that.
Can you remember anything your mother or dad said about when you were born?
You mean after?
When you were born, do you remember, was there anything particular going on? I know 1914 was just about World War I, but you don't remember anything particular?
Oh, no, I was a baby.
Yeah, okay. Tell us a little bit about your parents, Grandma and Grandpa.
My parents,
Yeah.
well, my mother was in Canada, and then they came here, and he was a kind of a person that drayed. He had a wagon and horses,
Right.
and he hauled stuff.
Right.
And my grandma, I remember when we got off the train and walked up the hill there to Grandma's house, I was just shaking in my boots because I was her favorite, and I was afraid they were going to leave me there. She wanted me to stay with her, and I didn't want to.
Okay.
Because I hardly ever saw her. And I thought, I said, don't you dare to go away with me.
Was that the Faddens?
Yeah,
Grandma Fadden. That was your grandmother, my grandmother.
That was my mother's mother.
Yeah. What was Grandpa's name?
John Hurd Scribbler.
No. I mean your dad's name.
My dad, Edward Bidwell Baker.
Yeah. And Grandma's name?
And Grandma's name is Myrtle Lillian Fadden Baker.
Right. Okay. Can you do you remember how your parents met?
No. They had a farm, and I suppose, they met at the stores or something.
They didn't meet at a dance or anything?
Well, I really don't know. My mother never ever said about anything about it.
Okay, tell me how many brothers and sisters you had.
I had 3 brothers and 4 sisters.
Okay, can you give me their names?
Gladys, Thelma, Eva, me, and May. Gladys and Thelma.
Yeah, you got all the girls. No?
Gladys and Thelma and Eva and May.
Yeah, okay, and then the boys?
Orville and Chester and Stanley. Orville, Stanley, and Chester.
Right. Let's see. And you were, which order were you in? Were you the youngest or the oldest?
What?
Were you the youngest or the oldest?
In the family?
Yes.
Oh, far from I was Chester and May, and then I was the 3rd youngest.
You were the 3rd youngest, that's right. Can you remember anything about your childhood?
Oh, I can remember a lot of stuff about.
Yeah.
We had a great big tree with apples and stuff on apples.
Yeah.
And we used to get under that tree. We had a really nice farm out there. We had horses, about 8 horses, and a bunch of cows and geese and chickens and everything, every kind of stuff you have on a farm.
Who did you play with the most of your brothers?
Huh?
Who did you play with the most of your brothers and sisters?
Oh, we played that game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You hide your hand and write a number, and when you get 1 at the ones and fill it out, then that's what we played the most.
Did you play with May the most, or who?
Well, no, I'd say Eva.
Eva, okay.
She was a couple of years older than I was.
Uh-huh.
May was about 2.5 years younger than I was.
Do you remember anything about the Roaring '20s and the Depression?
Well, I remember that they dressed a lot different, and And I remember that's when the Charleston
Yeah.
became famous.
Could you do that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Did you like to go to
Everybody,
dances?
everybody could do that.
Yeah. Was it a good time?
Oh, yeah. And we had a lot of fun. We had apple trees, crab apple trees, and regular apples, and we had a big garden, and we really had a nice place there.
That was in Canada. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what was the boy's name that you liked real well, and you always thought you were too skinny? Remember you told me?
Oh yeah, that little shit. What was his name? God, he didn't think I was so skinny. He just thought he was a hot shot, and he was. Now I think he was a runt.
What did you do with your brothers and sisters for fun?
Oh, we played cards and we went sliding, tobogganing, and.
Didn't you tell me you had an old piano too?
Huh?
An old piano at the farm?
Oh yeah, we had a piano, and Eva could play the piano by ear, almost as good as some people does by note. She could pick up almost any musical instrument.
You did a lot of singing around the piano too, didn't you?
Huh?
You did?
Yeah, I could play some by, just not reading notes.
Didn't you and your sisters do a lot of harmonizing together?
Oh, you bet. Every time my mother had company, the first one she had us sing was something about mother. And the tears would roll down. And then we'd start giggling. And she'd say, "That's what's trouble with you girls. You do that every time."
Okay, when did you come to Duluth? Is that when you were going to visit the Fattons?
My mother got lonesome for her mother.
Okay.
And we came on the train, all of us, and they sold the farm.
Okay.
And I was, my grandma lived up on that road that goes to Proctor.
Oh, by
up
the Oneonta Cemetery.
Yeah, and I wasn't very happy when we first came here.
Oh.
It was all so different, but then after I started school and met some kids, I enjoyed it.
Mother, I think Grandma and Grandpa were both Canadians, weren't they? Grandpa, I know, was Canadian because he had all.
Yeah, I think yeah, and then they moved to Minnesota.
They came here, I think, in 1927.
And then when they moved here, then my mother wanted to move here too.
Wanted to stay here, okay. Now, where did you go to grade school?
Let's see.
Was it Proctor?
Yeah, I went in Proctor, and I think I was in the second grade when we got here.
Okay. So you started the third grade or finished the second?
Huh?
You finished the second or started the third grade when you came here?
Yeah.
Then you went to high school. Where was that at?
I went to West Junior,
Yeah.
and then Denfeld.
Okay. And you quit school in what year?
In the 11th grade.
Yeah. You quit, and what did you do then?
Then I got a job.
You remember your first job? Do you remember?
Yeah, I worked for a couple up on the London Road. They had two little boys, and they were so cute, and they were so good to me.
Yeah.
And everything I do, he'd say, "You do it better than the other girls were here. They never turned the faucets off. They were always leaking, and I had to come." The very first night I washed dishes, he said, "Well, I can see you do one thing that I don't have to do anymore," because he said every other girl has been here, and the water was dripping when they left.
Yeah, I know you told me one time that you kind of quit school because you didn't have nice clothes to wear.
Well, yeah, that was during the Depression. There was 8 in the family and 10 to feed, and otherwise I didn't want to quit school, but I just didn't have any clothes or anything, and I got tired of it. So, and another thing, my dad was having a tough time. The railroad was working, well, maybe 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm big enough to go out and earn my own living.
Okay.
That was one less for him to feed. Yeah, I used to think store-bought bread and real butter was like cake.
Is that right?
Because we had that. Of course, my mother made awful good homemade bread, but you know, when you're a kid, that store bread seems better, but it wasn't.
How many loaves of bread did she make?
She'd make about 10 or 12.
Didn't she
And
make
boy,
it?
they were beautiful.
Didn't she make it on a certain day too?
Well, she made it, and when she saw it running down, then
Okay.
she'd make some more.
I think you told me once too, you cut the bread a certain way.
She what?
You cut the bread a certain way too to bugger?
Yeah, and you know, when my mother would bake the bread, she'd lay it like this, so I don't know why, and she'd put stuff on the crust so it wouldn't
Butter.
be. And it's one of the kids would come over and take a loaf and cut off the crust. Somebody else would come around and turn the bread around and cut the crust off.
The heel off, yeah.
And me, for one, because we all liked the crust.
Didn't Grandma have children that died at childbirth too?
What?
Didn't she have children that died at childbirth too?
Yeah, she lost twins twice.
Twins twice, okay. I know she told me about that.
Huh?
I know you told me one time too about times were tough and the steam threshers came up and were cutting the hay, or excuse me, the wheat up in Canada. And you remember that, what happened? You and Grandma and all the kids went out and threw the chaff up. Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
Tell me that, Mom.
And you know, we went to a country school, and we went with a horse and wagon,
Yeah.
and all of us in the back.
Do you remember the time though you went out with the wagon and you remember the steam thresher would throw the chaff along in a row? You guys went through it and got some clean grain out of there?
You know, and the boys would tease the horses.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they were brats.
How do you tease a horse?
Huh?
How do you tease a horse?
With a pitchfork.
Well, that would tease him. No, Ma, I'm trying to get you to tell me the story about when you and Grandma and all the kids went out and got the clean grain out of the chaff, and you brought it back, and remember Grandpa went into town and took the wheat and sold it?
Well, I can't remember all that stuff.
Okay.
We never, my dad never, the only thing we had to do as far as the farm was concerned was pick weeds.
How about chickens? Did you have chickens?
Yeah, I used to like to go and gather the eggs.
I bet that was fun.
Yeah.
Did you eat a lot of eggs when you were growing up?
Yeah, that, you know, in the Easter, we never got candy, but we could have all the eggs we wanted. Fried eggs, boiled eggs, scrambled eggs.
Now, what did you get for a Christmas now? What would you get for a gift?
For Christmas, Gladys was married,
Yeah.
and we got a nice gift from her. And otherwise, we got, you know, just books, not good books, but, and dominoes and checkers and stuff like that.
Uh-huh. I know you told me, what did you decorate the tree with?
Huh?
What did you decorate the tree with? The Christmas tree?
Oh, well, we had a nice tree and decorations. From year to year,
Uh-huh. Did you
you'd
use,
add a little bit each year.
what did you put on the tree?
Everything, that long stuff and that other
Tinsel,
stuff that
yeah.
you
Did
drape across, and then the balls and the star on the top.
Didn't you ever use popcorn?
No, we never used
Okay.
that. I think we did once,
Okay.
but we liked it better with the decorations.
Okay, what did you do after you left that place on London Road? Where did you go to work then?
Well, I just worked from one, and then friends of my mother opened a restaurant, and they asked me if I would work for them.
And what was her name?
And
It's King's, wasn't it?
King's, yeah, King's Cafe.
Tell me a little bit about them. Were they nice?
Huh?
Were they nice people?
Oh yeah, they were Canadians.
Oh, they were too.
Yeah.
Okay, they had come down here.
Huh?
They had came to the States too.
Oh yeah.
Okay, So you worked there until you met Dad, didn't you?
I was working there, and he came in, I was alone in the restaurant, and I did short order cooking all the time in there, and I was only about 17. And he came in one night and had supper, and I had to cook. I was mad because they went out. They used to drink, and they'd leave me. Imagine a 17-year-old, and I would be frying pork chops and steaks. And well, he was already sitting, and I went out there, and so I took his order, and he gave me a nice tip.
What did he order? Weren't you kind of mad?
Something like steak or chops or something like that. And that's what made me mad, because Kings were gone and I had everything cleaned up. And I had a dirty 2 pans and potatoes and 2 vegetables. Boy, I felt like telling him to go somewhere else and eat. Anyway, he liked it, so he came back every night. And so finally, about after the 6th or 7th night, he asked me out.
Did he bring a puppy in one night?
Huh?
Did he bring a puppy dog in one night?
No.
Well, I thought he set a puppy dog on the counter one night.
No, another guy did that and put it, and I said, take that dog out of here.
All right. So he asked you out.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of Dad?
Then romance reared its ugly head.
Okay.
Well, I thought it was pretty nice because, and then I took Don home so he could meet my mother and that.
Yeah.
And everybody, Gladys and Thelma, said, boy, set your cap for him. Everybody liked him.
You took him up to Gladys's too. Wasn't Gladys's one of your favorite places to go?
Yeah, whenever I had friends and wanted to go somewhere, nobody had much money to go any place, so it was mostly visiting. And we'd go up to Gladys, and she'd always make us a nice lunch.
What was Dad, where was he working when you met him?
Well, he was a construction worker wherever there was construction.
Wasn't he working on the power plant at that time for Elmer Miller?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because that power plant was built, but then he became a good friend of Vic Miller, who was a chief engineer down there. Yeah. So whenever the water got low or whatever it is, and it run, then he'd call Don. Even if we went to Florida one time, and we were only down there about a month, and he called and said, Don, got some work for you, and boy, was I glad when I heard that. I didn't want to be down there.
Well, tell me, when you got married, did Dad ask you to marry you then right after you got met?
Well, we went together for about 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
And then he asked me to marry him, but he didn't go out with anybody else any of the time.
I think May and Frank stood up for you?
Yeah. Okay. And everybody was planning on coming. And we got down, went to Reverend Ireland's house, and he married us right there, and they all went down there, and we were gone. He said, oh, they're married and gone.
Well, tell us about the time you got stuck.
Got stuck? Oh, yeah. I don't know how we got stuck, but we did.
Was it in the winter?
Huh?
Was it in the winter or the summer?
No, it was in the summer.
Okay, you got stuck.
Yeah.
And what happened?
And then they had to call whatever that kind of a trucker or whatever it was to
a wrecker
pull us out.
Well, what about the priest?
Oh, that priest, he was a stinker. He was going around saying, pardon me now, pardon me. And every time he said that, he took another drink. He drank almost all our booze.
He never did help you, eh?
Huh?
He never did help you either.
Well, I didn't drink any of it.
No.
I don't like it.
I meant the priest never got you out the ditch.
No, heck no. He was just having fun, having free drinks and...
Okay, on your honeymoon, what happened? What did Dad do? He tried to kiss you?
Yeah, and then he went in the ditch.
He went in the ditch. That's when the priest come
He
along?
wasn't keeping his mind on his driving.
Okay. Tell us about that first house you bought. The Riverside house.
I'm trying to think which was the first house.
Remember on 13 England Avenue? 14 England Avenue.
Oh yeah, that was in Riverside.
What did you pay for it?
About $1,400. And it had 2 bedrooms, all hardwood floors, living room, dining room, kitchen,
Yeah.
full bath, and a half basement.
Yeah.
Boy, we had a really good time
It
there.
had a big yard too.
Oh yeah,
I remember we had
150 feet in the back.
we had Caldalls on one side, and we had Mrs. Lean in the back.
Osborne's were on one side, and
Yeah, they were on the other
and
side.
and the other side was that teacher.
Yeah. Remember Dad used to make home brew?
Yeah,
What happened one time when you guys were playing cards? Didn't you hear something start popping? Yeah, Dad told me one time he made home brew, and you were sitting there playing cards, and all of a sudden you heard bang, bang. You remember that? The bottle
Yeah.
started breaking downstairs.
yeah.
Tell me about that. You were playing
Well, I
cards,
don't. That's about as much as I remember.
but I remember you telling me that story. So you went down there, and all of these were popping, and you guys had to drink all the beer up.
I never drank any of it. I hate
Okay.
beer, and nobody else did either.
Tell us about your first child, Don.
I told the doctor I wanted a boy,
Yeah.
and so when I came awake, he said, "Well, you got your boy." I said, "Is he already got all his hands and feet?" He said, "Yeah, he's got them all."
They used to use twilight sleep at that time.
You know, when you were born, your dad came over to me and said, "Boy," he says, "he's got a Peter as big as Sheldon Karen."
Well, of course.
Sheldon Karen was a kid that
Are you bringing up my better points, Ma?
Well, when I had Don, I had one awful time. I was in hard labor for about 14 hours. And I mean hard labor. Like usually they have pains, then you get maybe an hour. I thought sure I was going to die. And the doctor told me later, he said, "Boy, I was worried about you." He said, I was one awful hard labor. I didn't have that much trouble with you, but I didn't have an easy time either.
Well, Don weighed how much? He was about 10 pounds, wasn't he?
Don weighed 8 pounds, 12 ounces, and I think you weighed 5 pounds, didn't you?
Right, I was
5 pounds, 11 ounces or something like that.
Okay. Can you describe us kids growing up?
Well, the one thing about you and Don, I was always a little bit sorry I didn't have you a little sooner, because there was a little bit too much age difference in you and Don. And Don, you were 4.5 years younger than him, and so you couldn't keep up with him, but you wanted to. And I tried to tell you that, that you find kids to play with your own age, because, when kids are 4 years older, they don't want to be bothered with their little brothers.
Remember how we used to go up on the hill trapping?
Huh?
Remember how we used to go up on the hill trapping?
Yeah.
We'd bring home rabbits, and remember Don even caught a pheasant one time in a
Yeah.
trap.
And you went, Don went, was it you that went deer hunting with your dad, and he shot a deer and you cried?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Remember me cleaning the front room in the morning on Saturday?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, because, in those days, people didn't have a lot of money to go out, so they'd have these house parties. And boy, we had linoleums on the floor, and they'd put cornmeal on the floor so their feet would slide better. And boy, and then they'd go to bed early in the morning, and I'd get up and have all the work to do.
Do you
And Eva.
remember when I used to clean the morning, clean the front room in the morning when I was a little kid.
Clean the what?
I used to clean the front room for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, you and Don have never given me any trouble. You've been very good kids.
Tell us about some of the birthday parties you had. Remember for the kids? Remember you had birthday parties for Don?
Young Don.
Yeah, Donnie.
Yeah.
And remember one time about the papers rolled up? Can you remember that?
Yeah, and they were slamming each other on the head outside. I had to go out.
Well, let's back up the story a little bit. Tell us what they were supposed to do.
Huh?
Tell us what they were supposed to do. About the paper bags on the head and then rolled up one sheet of newspaper. Now tell me of that.
Yeah, well then they were hitting each other with them hard.
Yeah, they were rolling up like Life magazines.
Yeah.
They were whacking each
They'd
other in the
knock
head
them cold.
rather than knocking the top off. And well, after you left Riverside, where did we move then? Remember, it was World War II.
I think that's when we bought our first house in Riverside,
Right.
and then when we left there,
Do you remember what you were doing when World War II started? We were living in Riverside. I remember the air raid sirens we had once in a while.
well, I never thought too much about the war because it wasn't here.
Yeah. But remember Dad went to work in Seattle during the war and we moved to Seattle?
Yeah.
Remember we lived there in government projects?
Yeah.
Where did we live?
My gosh, I forgot all about that.
We lived in Port Orchard, didn't we?
Yeah.
Now tell us a little bit about what we lived in when we lived out there.
Well, we lived in some kind of houses that had apartments in them.
Well, they were government projects, right? Remember there were government projects?
Yeah.
Okay, remember what kind of stove we had?
Yeah.
It was a wood stove.
Yeah.
All we had was electricity. All we had was electricity.
Yeah.
Remember there was no refrigerator,
Yeah.
an ice box, and remember we didn't even have a radio. Remember Don used to knock on the wall, so the guy in the next apartment would turn up the radio so we could hear it.
No, that was fun, really.
We had a good time out there.
Yeah.
It was simple.
Do you remember those big iron gates with a?
Yes.
We used to sit by that gate and talk and.
Remember we used to go and get chickens because you couldn't get meat, red meat. Remember going up in the country and buying the chickens?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What were we always afraid of? The chicken with the one leg?
Yeah. I remember going on a lot of berry picking trips.
Yeah. What kind of berries did we get?
Blueberries
And
raspberries.
And
strawberries.
Boysenberries.
Yeah.
Tell us the story about the one-legged chicken in Seattle.
And it would hop around, and every time we'd have chicken, I'd say, that isn't a one-legged chicken, is it?
Every time we went to this guy that sold the chickens, we'd see this one crippled one. And I don't know why they kept them, but we were afraid she was afraid we'd get that one.
When you think about it, we had a lot of fun there.
Yeah. Do you remember when the war ended, how everybody was so happy?
Yeah, Remember we went down the street and everybody was singing and they were all over the place. And the bars were filled. We didn't go in the bars, but the bars were filled, I heard. We all heard.
Remember, too, the Dad took us into the shipyards at the end of the war?
Yeah.
Remember the ships were lined up for, as far as you could see, all these warships. Yeah. You know, another thing, Ma, I'd like you to talk about, too. Remember how you used to go up and help Grandma?
Oh, boy, I'll tell you, I used to go up there, she'd bring a great big basket of wet clothes, and I'd starch them, dry them, sprinkle them, iron them all real nice on hangers, take them up. I went up there, washed walls, ceilings, scrubbed all the floors, cleaned the stove, cleaned the refrigerator, and I mean from stem to stern. Take everything out of the refrigerator. Boy, my conscience is clear that I was good to my mother.
Remember too, Ma, when you were working before you got married, how you would share your paycheck with Grandma?
Every time I got paid, I'd go buy something for my mother because they couldn't afford to buy it. And I'd buy different stuff like Kleenex and, you know, those tissues and stuff. And
Didn't you used to take her to the dime store for dinner too?
yeah, I'd take her downtown and we'd go to the dime store and have dinner and then I'd buy her a couple of little things. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had a little.
Okay, Mother, remember the time you went hunting with Dad and Uncle Gunner and the geese flew over?
Oh yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
Oh yeah. A geese flew over and they came, here they come with a nice big goose or geese or whatever you call them. Gunner said he shot them.
Well, let's back the story up a little bit. Didn't you toot the horn when you seen them fly over?
Huh?
Didn't you toot the car horn when they flew over?
Yeah.
Okay, what? Tell me about that. The geese flew over, and you started blowing the horn, didn't you?
Yeah.
Then you seen what?
And anyway, we saw one fall.
Okay.
And so here they come with it. And Gunner said he shot it. And Don said, no, you didn't, I did. But they both had different kind of shot. So they cleaned it, and it was Don's deer bird.
Yeah, Dad had buckshot, and there was one in the gizzard, as I recall.
Yeah, so Gunner had to admit that it wasn't his. Well, I think Dad was a better shot than Gunner.
Remember the time, too, that Dad would take you fishing up on the North Shore?
Yeah. I remember one time he took May and I up to one of the lakes fishing, and he kept us out there so long. We were about ready to jump out of the boat. I was so mad at him.
Mosquitoes were eating us up.
I said, I'd never go fishing with you again.
Remember the time, too, he was up on the North Shore, and we were coming back. I think Don had left home then. I was just a young teenager. And Dad wanted you to drive?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, he wanted me to drive, and I wasn't going to say I was afraid to, so I did.
Ma didn't have a driver's license.
And I didn't have a driver's license, and I drove right down London Road.
Yeah, it was an old 37 Chev with a floor shift. Remember, too, I stayed awake because I was afraid you were going to go in the ditch. I kept talking with you.
See, oh boy, we had some times.
Yeah. Remember, you used to come home and dump ducks and fish.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing that used to bug me. He'd come home from work and go trout fishing, and I'd have the kitchen floor scrubbed and the kitchen cleaned up, and he'd come home and open that krill and throw those slimy fish, and he had grass that he put around them to keep them cool, and all that grass, and that I felt like, oh God, I was mad.
How about the ducks?
Oh, well, I only cleaned them once.
Was that right?
I told him, I says, you'll have all the fun and I get all the dirty work. So I told him, if any more of that stuff, I don't think he ever cleaned a damn fish.
Remember the time we were fishing up at, I don't know if it was Lake 11. Remember we dropping the line down in the water? We could see the fish. And if it was too small, we'd bring it up. You remember that time?
Yeah, I definitely remember that time.
Or didn't we catch a lot of fish?
Yeah. Well, you know, I told him one time, I said, you know, you go fishing, you have all the fun, and you stop and have some beers with their friends, which is okay. And I said, then you bring them home where I've worked and cleaned the house all up, and you slop up the whole kitchen.
Are you telling me Dad wasn't perfect?
Not in that respect. I don't think he ever cleaned one of them damn things he caught.
He's a pretty
I cleaned
good dad.
ducks, pheasants. The only thing he cleaned was a deer. And if he thought I could do it, I probably would.
He's a pretty good dad, though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
But
Ma.
he just loved Minnesota for the fishing and hunting.
Yeah, well, he stayed here. He didn't go back to Florida.
Yeah. I remember when we went down there and, Mr. Collins was
Right,
there.
right.
And, oh God, I was so bored down there, it wasn't funny. And so finally they called your dad back here to work. And Mr. Collins says, Mickey, you're not very nice. You come down here and you made us learn to love you, and now you're leaving us.
Remember Aunt Bonnie, how she'd go 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah. She'd go, when she's going to get up, she'd go 1, 2, 3, and then you'd pull her up. And so one time I was pulling her up. I pulled her up before she got to 3.
What did she do?
I said, that's one time you got a fast count.
Remember she went 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a lot of good times.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of nice Christmases. We always had a fresh tree and decorated the tree. And that was you and I and Don that did that.
Yeah.
Remember we used to have the big picnics up at Grand Lake?
Oh, yeah. Boy, that was fun.
Remember we'd go up there on the 4th of July especially?
Yeah.
We'd get tables and all the family would come and they'd bring potato salad and we'd have
Grand Lake and Big Lake.
4th of July picnics.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I think our kids grew up pretty darn nice.
Oh, yes.
You and Don and your kids and Judy's kids and...
We've got a lot to be thankful for.
Huh?
We've got a lot.
Oh, boy, I count my blessings every night.
Okay, Ma, let's cover Don. And remember how he met Pat?
He met Pat at a party at our house for somebody else.
Remember Nancy Lee invited him? He was a godchild for, not a wedding, godchild for Paula Kay. What do you think of Pat?
I like her.
Isn't she a
I
sweetheart?
think I said I really lucked out with Pat and Mary.
Why is that?
Well, because they're both such nice daughter-in-laws.
Well, aren't we nice boys too?
Huh?
Aren't we nice boys too?
Well, yeah, but you're not daughter-in-laws. Thank heavens.
You remember when Pat lived with you when Don was in Vietnam?
Yeah,
You had a good times together, didn't you?
yeah. Never had a bit of trouble.
Yeah. She liked eating some of your food, didn't she?
Huh?
She liked some of your recipes and food.
Yeah. I got one with Judy's picture on it, and it says something about Grandma's recipes.
Yeah, okay. You remember when Don won the Distinguished Flying Cross in Vietnam? Remember he come back and he was so slim?
Yeah. Yeah, he was just plain skinny.
Did you remember when I met Mary?
I remember when you and Mary came and told me you were going to get married. You both looked so innocent.
We were.
And so happy.
Yeah. You remember when I started on the fire department?
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't too keen on that at first, but it worked out good.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid you might get hurt. Get in a burning building and the thing crash down on your head.
Yeah. You remember when your first grandson come along?
Yes.
Don't you remember Bobby when he come along? Or Bob?
Yeah.
You remember when the grandchildren?
Well, he was one of the first ones, wasn't
Yeah, he was the first. Remember when they used to come and stay with you?
Yeah.
Tell me, what does it feel like to be a grandma?
Good.
Good time?
I'll tell you, you think you love your kids, and then you get grandkids, and then you get great grandkids, and it just you just can't love them anymore.
No, right. Amen. Tell us about when Dad died. Remember when Dad died? That was a tough time.
Oh yeah.
He died way too young.
Well, and the thing of it was, you know, he died pretty young. He's only 50.
Yeah.
And if he had lived, we could have done some traveling and stuff.
Right.
But we never got a chance.
Remember you went back to school when Dad died? Mm-hmm. What did you go back to school for?
Huh?
Remember you went back to school for a beautician license?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I just went down to, I knew I wanted to do that, and I figured that I could have my own business and I didn't have to work for somebody else.
Didn't two of your sisters go to school with you?
Yeah, Gladys and Thelma.
Yeah.
But they never did anything with it. And I think Gladys worked for that woman that has a beauty shop at Proctor.
Right, she worked some.
And but Thelma never did anything with it.
But I give you a lot of credit. When Dad died, you went right back to school, got your beautician license, and then you went to work, I think, out here in Morgan Park.
Yeah.
For who was that first lady you worked with?
May Overby.
Yeah, okay. Then you eventually bought the shop yourself, didn't you?
Then I bought the shop.
Yeah. How many years did you run it?
Oh, for about 6 years.
6 years you were the manager. I remember you'd have 2 sets of books. Anything cash went in your pocket.
I had a lot of nice customers. Dr. Barker's wife came there, and another doctor, 2 doctors' wives came regular.
Yeah. Even when you retired, you still did a lot of hair.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, if they know you do hair, they'll call and say, you know, but the nice part there is the money is all playing, but you're not supposed to do that.
Tell me about the Hampton picnics up at Eagle Lake.
They were nice. I liked them.
It's kind of a get-together every year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get Don and the family up, and we have all of our relations that are close by. We have some good times up there, don't we?
Well, we've had a lot of fun, and we've been lucky that you know, we haven't had too much sickness. We had enough, but not. A lot of people have a lot worse.
Now tell me, you joined the Senior Citizens Club out here at Morgan Park. You were the president there a couple of times?
Oh, yeah.
How many times were you president?
Twice. And they wanted me to do it again, and I said no.
You were vice president too for a few years. Now, what do you do over there?
I go over there and play bingo and play cribbage and have dinners and...
You got pretty good dinners, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
I've come with a few of them with you.
Yeah.
What card game do you like the best?
Well, I like cribbage pretty well, and I like 500. I don't care for bridge. I've played it several times, but I don't know. Everybody takes that too seriously.
Do you ever feel guilty ripping off those old timers?
Yeah.
Taking their quarters?
Yeah.
What does it take to be a good card player?
Just be a good sport. If you win, okay, and if you lose, okay.
Right. How did you get to be a good card player?
By playing.
Did you play it when you were a kid in Canada?
We played cards all the time. And you know, during that time, it was, you know, people didn't have much money. And so that's what they did every Saturday night. They'd take turns having maybe 4 tables. Mm-hmm. And each one would bring something, sandwiches or cookies or cake or something. And the one that had the house, they had to take turns at their houses.
I remember you used to play a lot of poker too at Grandma's.
Oh yeah, I love to play poker.
I remember too, you used to always slip Grandma a couple extra pots.
Well, yeah, when I played with Mom and Dad, I always, whenever they run out of money, I'd push money over to them, because I wanted them to win.
Grandpa was a pretty good cribbage player too.
Yeah, yes he is.
Was Grandma as good a cribbage player?
She's a good cribbage player too.
Yeah.
So am I.
You won a few city championships for
Yeah.
cribbage, haven't you?
Yeah, it's down on the board down there.
Right. In the future times, what would you want our grandchildren to do? What morals, what ideals, what would you want them to do?
I want them to do whatever they do it as best they can.
That's a good idea.
And then that's all anybody can expect of anybody.
No. Do you have any advice to give future generations?
Well, I don't feel like I should give advice.
You're sure giving me a lot.
Well, that's different.
I don't know if it was advice or order.
I just think kids should get all the education they can get. And you and Don Bush could have gone to college, and I wish you had.
We did all right.
Huh?
We did all
yeah,
right.
you did. You sure have. But I think if you hadn't gone to school at all, you'd have done as well as you're doing.
Possibly. We all have that drive in us to do well, and you have to do it. I know you always worked hard, Ma. You were a good Ma.
Well, when I was a kid, I got good marks. I never got a failing mark, ever. And my dad told me, if you keep going, I'll do anything to see that you get a good education. But talk is cheap, and it takes money to buy whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you think all of your grandchildren?
Huh?
What do you think all of your grandchildren?
I think I'm very, very lucky with grandchildren, and I think that you and Don both picked a winner for a wife.
Amen. You have good times when you go out and see Don, too.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when Bob would come over and stay at your house? Then Judy would come and stay?
Yeah, it took turns.
I remember Bob wanted to stay up late?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I let him stay up late.
How late?
10 o'clock, 11. Whenever he wanted to go to bed.
Okay, then remember Judy came over?
Huh?
Remember then Judy came and stayed?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Nothing.
Don't you remember you fell asleep in the chair?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
And she went to bed.
All by herself?
Yeah.
Never said a word? And then you brought Jimmy over, and he tried to stay up late? Remember?
Yeah, but he couldn't. He fell asleep.
Yeah. Remember you used to take him to the drive-in and buy ice cream cones?
Yeah. I love taking the grandkids out places. But now that I can't drive anymore, it's kind of hard to do.
You just quit driving 2 years ago, so you did pretty good.
Yeah. But I know one thing. I've got nice grandkids. Very nice. And all good looking. They all take after me.
Yeah. We got a nice grandmother and grandmother too.
Yeah. I've counted my blessings many times about my family and my grandkids and great-grandkids and whatever.
Yeah, it's too bad Dad couldn't have seen them.
Oh, yeah. I've often thought of that. He would have loved them.